AI, especially ChatGPT, has been a huge discussion in everybody's conversations lately, especially when it comes to education. It is best to start sharing these ideas with students now. I'm a firm believer in basically pre training them and how to use tools appropriately. So that way they can understand just how powerful these tools can really be. And doing these as like class activities could be a great way of doing that. So I'm just going to share about 5 or 6 different examples of how you can use use a tool just like this with your students. So to start, we're going to start with maybe a student that has issues like coming up with ideas or needs some writing prompts. So we're going to do a quick search here. We're going to ask ChatGPT to please give me 5 sentence starters for a student in grade, let's say grade 5 for this example. I'm going to hit enter. We're going to give it a few seconds. And we're going to see that it is giving us a couple of sentence starters. Can you explain how you solve that problem? What do you think would happen if? I'm not sure I understand. Can you say it another way? What are some similarities and difference between? Why do you think the character did said that? So if we don't like these ideas, we could always just click this regenerate response and it can give us another 5 sentences. Can you tell me more about the book you're reading? What was the most interesting thing you learned in science class today? So there's a couple of really great ideas in there for any students that are looking for journal entry ideas, a blog entry, or maybe even if they're doing like a presentation, you want to mark them on their oral presentation skills. Maybe grade 5 is too old for you. Maybe you want to change this up. So we can keep that same sentence and we could even ask ChatGPT here. Now give me a list for students in grade 1. Let's change it to a grade 1 student. What was your favorite part of school today? What new words did you learn in class today? So notice how the questions are a little bit simpler, a little more lower level for that grade 1 student that is writing these journals and such. So maybe now we need story ideas. Maybe now we actually want the students to write a story um, and they really can't come up with anything. Let's say the student is in grade 3 and one of their passions is hockey. The thing about ChatGPT is that the more descriptive you get, the better the ideas are. So if I say something like, give me 10 story ideas for a student in grade 3 who loves hockey. Let's see what ChatGPT gives us here. To overcome obstacles to make it onto a local hockey team. Story about a magical hockey stick that helps the team win the championship game. These are really good ideas. Story about a girl who loves hockey but has to deal with teasing from boys who think girls can't play. That's a really good idea. Story 2. Story about a hockey coach who inspires his team to work together and never give up. So now the student who may struggle with generating their own ideas, now we have 10 suggestions that they can kind of go with, and it's all hockey based. So something that they're really passionate about. And now we're given 10 ideas that the student can just pick one and they can just go with it. Okay, so now let's take a look at a couple of examples of some like written pieces where as a class you can actually break it apart. So let's say we're talking in our class about writing reports and we want to have ChatGPT write one really quickly and then we can break it down in little pieces. Did ChatGPT write a good paragraph report? So let's do this. So give me a 5-paragraph report about why climate change is dangerous and we're going to bump this up, grade 7 student. I find that the more specific you are, the writing gets more accurate for those students that we're working with. We definitely don't want to be working with a grade 6 or grade 7 class, for example, and then ChatGPT starts writing something that's more university or college level. We want to make sure that it is focused on the age group that we're working with here. Okay, so here we go. Climate change is a growing problem. It's caused by human activities such as burning fossil fuels, deforestation, industrial processes. So there is a couple of really good sentences to start, starting with increase in extreme weather events, impact on ecosystems and wildlife. All right, we are doing well here. All right, jumping ahead. It looks like it is just about to finish up here. So what we can do with this now, as a teacher, we could then copy and paste it on like a bigger screen for all the students to see, because we could see that we have a 5-paragraph essay here. Actually, they snuck in 6 paragraphs, which is awesome too. And as a class, we can break this down. Did they have all the paragraphs we needed? Do we have paragraph starters? Do we have a final paragraph that actually summarizes everything that that was talked about? So we can definitely break this down into little parts and kind of see how we can make this report a lot better. All right, so continuing on with different writing types, maybe if we go back to primary grade level where they're learning how to write stories, maybe we can just do a quick simple one like this. Let's start this way again. Write me a letter to Santa. Maybe we want to break apart how a letter is written. Now, notice in this one, I didn't give an age of the students that we're working with. So I'm already seeing some writing in here that's a little bit older. I want to say maybe grade 4, grade 5, and even the writing itself is a little long. So what I'm thinking here, now that it's finishing up, I'm going to say, write me another letter to Santa as a 4-year-old. Let's see the difference. Now we can see that the writing is a little younger age group level. Also trying to learn my ABCs and count to 10. So a couple of really simplified writings here. Obviously, this 4-year-old wouldn't write this, but maybe they can say it. And that's something else that we can break apart with with our students. Lastly, let's do one more idea here. So we can even have ChatGPT write a story for us. So again, we can ask it to write a narrative story. As a class, let's break it apart. Do we have a setting? Do we have characters? Do we have a conflict? And do we have resolution? So let's do that right now. So write me a narrative story about a boy who lost a dog. And again, I won't focus on a grade level just now. Let's just see how it writes. And what's great too is that even as a teacher, if you're doing some quick lesson planning and lesson generation and you want a sample, you don't have to necessarily show this with your students either. You can just quickly have ChatGPT write it for you, and then you have a really simple story to work with your students on. So definitely a huge time saver for teachers. Okay, so just finished up now, and we can see we have a cute little short story about a boy named Jack who had a wonderful dog named Max. They were playing in the park. Max saw a squirrel, ran after it, but Max didn't come back. Jack searched high and low for Max, put up posters. So there's our conflict, there's our problem. And now we're going straight to our resolution here. Jack finally found Max. He was dirty, hungry, and tired, but he was okay. It looks like Jack learned a lesson here too. That day on, Jack and Max were even closer than before. They did everything together, and Jack made sure to keep a close eye on his furry friend. So that's a cute little story that ChatGPT just wrote up. Like I said, we can use this with our students, and they can break it apart. Does it have all the pieces of a narrative story? How can we make this story better? So lots of different ways that we can do this. And notice too, even if you're sharing this with your students as well, you could even have those conversations of, look at my sentence that I asked ChatGPT. When I asked for something more specific, it gave me more detail, or it simplified the writing based on the age group. It gave me story ideas for a student in grade 3 who loves hockey. What difference would it make if I removed the piece about hockey? What would the stories look like? So lots of different ways that we can share this with our students. So I definitely think this is a really big, important tool and a great direction for education. Uh, but as I mentioned, we definitely need to think about how can we introduce this to our students early as a beneficial tool. And I can't emphasize enough the tool piece. Um, how is it a great tool for us to support our learning and help us become better writers, help us become better thinkers, and even as teachers, just make our lives a little bit easier and more efficient so we can really support our students the best way we can.